Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Fluffenhammer podcast without the magical Gruff, whose computer has exploded due to technical difficulties, mostly due to AI. I imagine the Skynet Eagle Eye expansion has got to his PC and finally put it out of its misery. George is not here as well. What's that, Big D?
Are we sure it's not just Craig finally getting his sweet revenge?
Perhaps Craig got the pillow and put it over Gruff's face in bed and just smothered him. Or the computer. It could be a self-hate crime, I suppose. PC on PC violence. But I'm joined here today by Mr. Big D. Hello, Big D.
Hello.
And Mr. Adam White.
So if you've seen that scene in Superman 3 where the supercomputer suddenly goes after the woman and turns her into a robot in a really bad kind of stop motion, but also horrifically terrible scene that really traumatized kids' minds. That's what happened between Gruffy and his computer. Except Gruffy was doing it to the computer.
As a child that was traumatized by that scene, yeah.
You know, this might shock you. I've never watched any of those Superman movies because I was never...
Don't worry.
The closest thing I watched to the original live-action Superman movies was the episode of Sooty and Sweep, where Sweep became Superdog. If anybody remembers that.
I have issues with Sooty and Sweep. I'll discuss them after the podcast recording is concluded.
Fair enough.
Is it due to Sue? Is it because Sue's a total bitch?
No.
All right. What a cow.
I'll say Superman 3 and 4, yeah, they're not great. But Superman 1 and 2, though, whichever version of them you watch, they are quite decent movies. There's an earnestness to them.
I can't think why I've never seen them. Maybe I was just raised on Batman, and I was just, Batman, smelly Superman. I don't know.
Also, though, is it one of those? It's one of those films where people tell you, "Oh, you must see it. You must see it."
That's
it's
a fair point as well.
I don't think it was even that. I never had loads of people saying I have to watch Superman now. Maybe it was just assumed I had seen it.
Yeah.
I didn't really ever watch the Superman animated show until much later on either. Because it's just I think the only my main source of Superman was Justice League and Justice League Unlimited when that kind of rolled around on TV in 2003 or 4.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Oh my God, over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, my main source of Superman was Superman versus Nicotine, the anti-smoking campaign in the 80s, where at one point Superman flat out kills somebody by tossing them into orbit.
Well, does he stop smoking?
I think he stops breathing, so it helps with stopping smoking.
Well, then Superman accomplished his mission, didn't he? He will stop smoking one person at a time. If he has to form a Saturn-like ring of human corpses around the planet, he'll do it.
I just realized if we ever wanted to talk about a period of horror that's sadly overlooked by many people in culture, they should talk about the 80s horror that was kids' safety announcements.
Oh, God.
Because you either had Superman bullying and he was really nasty in some of those adverts, but tossing someone into space. And if you avoided Superman and you just went out and flew your kite, because apparently that's what kids still like to do in the 80s, you would die by being burnt alive and electrocuted and be shown on an advert.
By
was that one...
Or by lightning?
Oh, by lightning, yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you just meant Superman really didn't like kites and he'd kill children.
Yeah, so some of us guys were brutal. I used to get up quite early in the mornings to catch some, because Channel 4 used to show some niche animation early in the mornings.
Niche.
And something like Sandokan and Jason's Wheeled Warriors. But they'd always throw that they'd have all those sort of adverts, and this is early 90s, so still a lot of the 80s stuff got mixed in there. But it was all stuff, and you just thought, why are these people acting like complete morons?
It was an innocent time.
It was a simple time. Scare kids by threatening their lives.
Yeah.
Anyway, from the subject of innocent kids being killed in a cruel and unfair world, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, Big D brought forward an idea topic that we could talk about, which is going to be the very focused topic, the Imperial Guard.
Yes, it's such a small, dainty subject to talk about, isn't it?
And Big D thought the best people he could have involved was the most knowledgeable people on the Fluffenhammer Discord, which is, of course, Mr. White and myself.
The most knowledgeable people, brackets, who jump on shows, who don't mind talking, and whose computer hasn't exploded.
Yes. Wow.
I mean, yeah, there was a bit of that.
Yeah. So the broad topic of the Imperial Guard, Big D. I guess a good place to start, and I'll steal the question before Mr. White can throw it in there. What are the Imperial Guard?
Well, the Imperial Guard are the main fighting arm of the Imperium of Man. Funnily enough, so I know the Space Marines are the poster boys, but there's like barely a few million of them jumping around the galaxy. Whereas the Guard, they're the ones who, every war zone, it'll be the Guard of the main block of fighting troops that get thrown in. Anytime there's a crusade or a planetary defense, odds on there'll be a regiment of Guard involved somewhere. Just because almost not every planet, but part of Imperial ties is that at some point a planet can be asked to raise a regiment of Imperial Guard, normally drawn from their planetary defense forces, or just conscripted from whoever's stupid enough to run into the recruiter's arms.
Okay.
But it's always been a faction that has fascinated me. And I keep going back to them. I've got there are two armies I always return to in 40k. Space Wars, because they were my first army, and the Imperial Guard, just because there's something compelling about just a man in body armor with a gun. No, not a super soldier. Arguably by our standards, probably an incredibly elite soldier, potentially. Just a man and some other men and women at his side, standing against hordes of demons, extra galactic bugs, aliens of a doomed empire that either want to force you down a path that'll lead to self-destruction or want to do things to you that are unimaginable. Weird peaceniks who are all about the greater good. And the horrors of beyond. There's just something very compelling about that, you know?
Well, I guess this is a good question for Mr. White that I can ask. For someone who's not super knowledgeable on the Imperial Guard, what's your impression of them? When people say the Imperial Guard, what do you think about?
I think about Dawn of War, Winter Assault, and the Dawn of War games. The fact that they were the first ones to, for me anyway, I know you had Epic, Final Liberation, and Armageddon, but for me, that was the first game I played where you could be the Imperial Guard. And, you know, people joke about some of the voice clips from Dawn of War, and you know all of the Space Marine voice clips, but the most used of all the voice clips were the death screams of the Imperial Guard,
because you were screaming his heart out.
Because you were literally just like, you were sending, you know, in any battle, you were sending hundreds, and this is obviously within the game, so it's simplified down. You were sending hundreds of troops to their death constantly, just trying to take down these bigger foes, and you were doing everything you could. You know, you was it Colonel Brom? You were like fitting him up to the nines. Somebody that looked like a kind elderly uncle, somebody who should be eating Werther's Originals in a comfy chair, and you were setting him up with sort of Wolverine style claws and all sorts of weaponry. I think it was Winter Assault.
I think he's Stern. I think he's Stern.
Is it Stern? Oh,
yeah, in
sorry.
Winter
Then
Assault,
it's
Stern, and it's Luther Alexander in Dark Crusade, and it's then Stern's the best one out of the Dawn of War generals. Stern's easily the best.
So Brom might be the first one then. That could be it.
Brom from which game?
First Dawn of War.
There was no Well, I guess there was the guy with the goatee beard and the little mohawk, but I can't remember. He might have been Brom, but yeah, he might. Yeah, I that's probably who that was. Because Stern was definitely the Winter Assault dude, the first playable guy. Brom, I don't remember. I wanted to just get you just in case someone was like, well, actually, because I've been playing Winter Assault recently, and it's the hardest of the Dawn of Wars.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, Brom is the thinner guy, so it's probably the guy you were talking about. Is the kind of more hench guy. Yeah, he looks like what one of his ancestors maybe got a little bit familiar with the Nogrin.
Yeah, he looks like a stereotypical like American general, war veteran kind of general, Stern.
Duty.
Yes, yeah. And he's got a really good voice. Whoever the voice actor is for him, he's got a solid voice as well.
Yeah, so, for VA for Guardian Winter Assault, there's always a bit of a fond memories from that one.
Just in general, just Dawn of War had solid voice acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it was the structure of it though, because in terms of the Guard, like with the Marines and the other factions, you were playing and you could put a unit into the field and it could last for a while and you could build it up. But even in like that first, and it was the first time I'd really even seen 40k. It was the first thing that came across was just how fragile they were, and it was just this idea that I really could believe that these were just hundreds of men and women just going to their deaths. And then when I read up, started to hear more about the lore and heard it wasn't hundreds or thousands, it was hundreds of thousands and possibly millions. Then it just took on its kind of this tragic air. So that was kind of the start of everything for me with the Guard.
Cool. And yourself, Andy, where did you first learn of the Imperial Guard?
I probably learned of the Imperial Guard originally from the tabletop. If not, it would have been Epic. Not Epic. What's the game that Mr. White mentioned? It's not
Armageddon.
Armageddon.
No, Armageddon.
Final Liberation?
Final Liberation, thank you. Yeah, it was maybe Final Liberation because there were Guard in that as well. It's probably that, but also in Rights of War as well, where granted you mostly played as the Elder. There was a random like Imperial Guard units in there. It was kind of all over the place with the Imperial forces in that game. There was Sisters of Battles, Space Marines, and Imperial Guard all kind of mushed together in one blob for whatever reason. But yeah, probably something like that. I didn't really care too much for them originally. Because they were just men, and I was like, robot skeletons, though. They're pretty cool, aren't they?
You're right.
Yeah.
But then I kind of, as I've grown older, I've gained appreciation for them because they're just men, and they've got nothing special. Their weapons are dog shit, basically, within the context of the 40k universe. You've got a lasgun versus a Necron Gorse cannon. One can disassemble atoms and molecules. The other can like break apart concrete. It's like there's a bit of a difference in terms of I've standard quality troop weapon.
I've always loved that about the Guard. That by our standards, the Guardsman is staggeringly well equipped. Their body armor is light, durable, and can absorb quite a lot of damage to protect its wearer, and the las weapons are literally otherworldly. I mean,
Star Wars would be jealous to have a las gun versus a blaster.
Yeah. I mean, blasters have to use a gas as their charging element, whereas a las gun is literally a battery pack that you can recharge.
I've seen a blaster knock a giant hole in a concrete wall. They do like a little spark or maybe a burn damage to concrete wall, but they don't take a chunk out of it.
Absolutely. A las gun, I mean, there's even, I think it's in Necropolis, the Third Gaunt's Ghost book, you have Dorden, the medic, describing how thankful he is that someone was shot. No, it's in the Honor Guard, the fourth book. how thankful he was that someone was shot with an auto gun and not a las weapon. Because the auto pistol, that's just like 9mm slugs. They just went really nice, simple to patch up holes, and they're fairly clean entry and exit wounds. A las gun basically blows a hole in whatever it hits and cauterizes the wound.
Yeah. I was thinking that would like burn you too.
Yeah, it does horrendous amount of damage. But like you say, compared to everything else in the 40k universe, it's a flashlight, the old gag.
Yeah, because you look at an orc and you shoot an orc, and it's like, sure, you blow a chunk out of an orc, maybe, but it doesn't care. It doesn't need a lot to live.
No, you've just gotten that orc's attention.
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing to have done.
And this is a standard orc that maybe is bare-chested, that isn't, like, wearing armor of any sort.
Yeah. This is an orc that's hunched over and is still bigger than you are.
Yeah, it's like, I always think it's funny, the fairest fight within an orc army and an Imperial Guard army is a man versus a Gretchen or a Snotling. And even then, it's like, how similar are they in like combat efficiency?
I mean,
must be similar-ish, right?
Snotlings have the same intelligence as a dog. They're not terribly smart. Grot is more intelligent than an orc in general, but it's more of a cunning than an intelligence, as we'd probably measure it.
A dog can kill you. Yes, might be smarter than a dog, but it can kill you pretty quick.
Absolutely. Grots, on a one-to-one basis, they are weaker than a human, but they're meaner fundamentally. So Grot will, if they think they can take you, they'll try and take you.
Yeah.
And they still have razor-sharp teeth, claws at the end of their fingers. They might be smaller than a human overall, because they're about a quarter the size of an orc.
How big are they feet-wise? Are they meant to be like 4 foot tall or something? 3 foot, 4 foot?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
A grot is quite small by our standards.
Yeah.
Tiny by an orc's, but...
Is an orc's like similar in comparison to a space marine, like a standard orc, right?
Yeah, but a grot... The thing is, the grots still have... They're wiry, but they still have a lot of strength despite being wiry. Because it's long muscle, opposed to the orcs are quite hench and bulky muscle.
Yeah, I imagine they're kind of like chimps. They don't look built, but they're still tear your balls off if they want.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And normally you don't run into one grot; you run into like five or six minimum. Yeah. And grots in a mob have, I mean, it's the old orc thing. Their courage is amplified, however many there are, and that applies to grots just as much.
Yeah, Skaven kind of tactics with the grot, I suppose, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of why Skaven are a little, not entirely, but a little bit redundant as a 40k faction, because the grots and the orcs do a lot of what they do in fantasy. So
can you argue that with? Because they would have the guns, and the thing that differentiates greenskins in fantasy and Skaven are guns and firepower, I suppose.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Which is a bit of a shame, because I would love to see Skaven get a proper 40k treatment, but they'd potentially have to move them too far away from what makes them Skaven fantasy to make them distinct in 40k. So it's like,
it would also be another Horde faction.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
There's so many Horde factions in 40k.
Oh yes, absolutely. Because but at least it's not as bad as being an AdMech player, where the Iron Strider is a 50-point unit that costs £35. Yeah.
Me and Mr. White just sitting here.
Yeah.
Yes. Is that a lot?
It is, yeah. Because
Okay.
it's
How much is that in groats?
That's the thing, it's a single walker. It's like a sentinel, effectively. It's 50 points, which is dirt cheap. But because all their stuff is really complex builds, has a lot of parts to everything, it means that all of their kits are just priced way more than any other factions when you stop and look. It's like, damn, that's really expensive. It's like,
Aren't the Guard like the most expensive army to get, or the Gene Stealer cults?
Gene Stealer cults have taken it because they've had a couple of quite bad combat patrol. The first combat patrol they did, where you got the Rock Grinder. Was it the Rock Grinder one? It might have been one before that, where you had an Achilles Ridge Runner. But that was really good value because you got a lot of stuff in there that's quite expensive to buy on its own. So it gave you quite a nice price break. Guard, it depends how you want to build Guard. Because if you go focus on infantry, yeah, it's expensive. It always has been. I mean, I've done Horde Guard as that's kind of where I live for Guard because I like the idea. I got it really into Guard heavily by reading Gaunt's Ghosts. And the idea of a light infantry force. I mean, I took a 110-man Catachan army, all in plastic, to a grand tournament for 3rd edition at 1,500 points. I got spanked, but it was still just fun to see people's faces when I deployed all of those infantry.
I bet they hated you when it was your turn to move.
Who said I moved?
He melted.
The games were all basically kill your opponent. There was no real objectives at that point because it was still 3rd. But it was just, we're going to stand here, we're going to rapid fire. 6 rounds rapid.
Oh, it was almost like the very, very old style of fighting armies where they literally just stand, 200 meters apart and fire, and it's the last one standing wins.
Pretty much, and this was all jungle fights as well, so it's all muscly dudes with all the weapons converted. So, yeah, it was fun.
Can I ask? And firstly, I'd just like to say, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening at home, there's a very real chance that Andy and I won't be asking the questions that you want as somebody who's more knowledgeable about this. Yes. So what I would like you to do is 2 things. One, I would just like you to shout at your sound player right now. Shout your questions. We won't hear them. We won't respond. But it will make you feel good. But then maybe put something in the comments and go, please, Dee, talk to me about this. And then we can drag you in for a future show. I'm being brutally honest. But other thing, and this is the genuine question I wanted to ask, because Andy, you mentioned as well about just having an interest in this. And a lot of people do have an interest in the Guard as a concept.
Yeah.
Is the Guard as tied to this whole idea of you must buy the latest stuff, the latest models? You know, the Guard feels more timeless. Is there, if you rock up with a load of old Space Marines, people will have different opinions. But I think, is the Guard like less prone to that? Because there's been, especially in recent years, a lot less focus on updating everything about them.
A little bit. I mean, some units they've always struggled with the Baneblade tanks for super heavies to price them accordingly, and rule them accordingly, just because the way the Guard functions with orders kind of skews how a unit on its own can function.
Okay.
So they've gone back and forth on whether you can issue orders to a super heavy or not, and the same thing with orders to tanks, for that matter. Is part of why now you have a dedicated tank commander unit in 2 flavors, Russ and Rogel Dawn. The Dawn tank's interesting because that is it's the newest vehicle in the Guard range, and it has been given rules that reflect. Well, it encourages you to buy one, basically. I mean, I have one that how did I get it? I think I got it in an army box, and I'll get another one because I'm doing the Combat Patrol part works, and they're putting one of those in the last premium
special
kit.
Box. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It's a nice tank. It does actually work as a really nice middle ground between the Russ and the Baneblade chassis. It looks more like a World War. It does have more of a World War II vibe to it, more like either a steroided Sherman or what became the Patton tank in its vibes. But it's not one that you have to take. The beautiful thing about the Guard is that they're there are lots of options. And the way the game currently works with detachments can reflect that. So last year, when we did the Grotmus thing, they put out a bridgehead detachment that was basically geared towards Scions and had some unexpected play with the Tempest Aquilons. They released the Kill Team in the months prior to that.
Yeah.
But they did correct some of those. So, I mean, I will admit, I do have 3 squads of Aquilons. I have like 60 Scions just because I got bored one time and focused heavily on them. Because I was ordering parts online.
You know how it happens, Mr. White.
D, can I just check? Are they around there somewhere?
No, I know exactly where they are. They're in a box. I started priming them. I've only done 30 of them. I've got another 60 to go.
Good for them.
Only 60.
Well, it's the maximum you can take.
Yeah.
And look, I went for a phase of just going through eBay and looking for parts lots of who were selling legs and torsos, and because the thing, you get a lot of spare parts in modern GW kits. And it just makes sense to my mind to just buy up spare bodies and make use of the bits you got left over. Probably doesn't work out in the long run, but you see.
Well, I'd imagine you can get away with that a little bit easier with other players as well than when you do it with Space Marine or other factions. Again, because there's so many models that you're taking, you expect to, in real life, an Imperial Guard would be a little bit more mashed up with various, because you've got squads and regiments that are combined together when they suffer, things in the lore, like you had with the Kane and the Valhallan. Was it 597th?
Yes, where it was 2 regiments that are merged together the casualties they've taken.
And so you would expect that in some unit you would have this mix of completely different looks because they've come from completely different backgrounds.
Absolutely. It's actually something I've quite appreciated in the last 2 editions now, where they've decoupled the rules you get from detachments from the faction keyword for guardiness in particular. So it used to be, if you wanted certain bonuses, you were encouraged to play mono faction. So guard, to have all your guard be from the same regiment. And the thing is, there is something very satisfying about doing that. I'm not trying to denigrate people who do that. I've done it multiple times with my guard, where I've just gone in, I want to do this particular force, and I don't want to have anything else in this. I'm going to kit bash crews for all my weapons to match that so that they're not from this regiment. It's a perfectly good way of doing things. But for, like you said, Adam, the way the lore works is that oftentimes the battles are much more varied. So you'll either have regiments that have been merged, like in the Kane books and in the Gaunt's Ghost books later on. There was a great example from White Dwarf years ago. I mean, we're talking a good 20 years ago, I think, when the Valkyrie first came out as a plastic kit, where someone had built they showcased an army which was a Katachan regiment that had been merged with a Valkyrie-based regiment. So a lot of the jungle fighters had become pilots. So they'd gone through the kit, and because the Valkyrie kit has transparent canopies, they've made a point of giving some of the crew just jungle fighter heads. Just really simple stuff. Having some of the crew in the back of the Valkyrie be jungle fighters, not the air crew get-up guys. And it's just a fun experiment. And something that the guard is a great way for hobbyists to just let their imagination run wild. Because originally the Guard had a very 70s and 80s sci-fi look back in the Rogue Trader days.
Well, they looked like stuff from Rogue Trader. Not Rogue Trader, from 2000 AD.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
that's
partly because some of the guys who did the artwork that defined them were the likes of Kev Walker, who worked for 2000 AD. But that was kind of like the vibe at the time. So you had these very chunky helmets, very Rogue Trooper-esque with big goggles, shoulder-padded battle armor that wasn't Space Marine style, but still very distinct. But it actually did catch my eye when I was first getting into the hobby. But then they'd begun to phase them out because within a few years into second edition, they introduced the regiments we kind of know and love today. So you had the metal jungle fighters, the Cadian shock troopers, the Talon desert raiders, the Valhallan ice warriors, the Attilan rough riders, the Mordin Iron Guide, Praetorians, and later on you had the Armageddon Steel Legion, the Vostrian Firstborn, the Death Corps, and the Elysians. Oh, that's a list. But they're all based on certain historical archetypes more than anything, and they kind of gave people free rein to go a bit nuts. So it's like, all right, good example, Peachy, Chris Peach. One of his signature armies is the Ventrilian Nobles, which is just Cadian shock troop bodies, whichever version you like, with classic pith helmets on. Well, not pith. Actually, he used heads from the Empire Outriders kit, Pistoliers. So they're wearing more Napoleonic-style steel helms that Napoleon cavalry would have worn, with plumes and the like. And he's given a very distinct vibe. Andy, you've nailed it with that picture in the chat. But is that from the Robocop cartoon show?
No. Do anybody know where that image is from? I mean, out of the two of you, no one else will know. It's not a live show.
Exo Squad?
No. Same era.
Turtles.
No, not Turtles. It's definitely a 90s cartoon.
Go on, tell us.
Battletech.
Oh, of course, yeah, Battletech tracks, yeah. It's
from the intro Battletech. I don't think you ever see anyone that looks like that in the rest of the show, though, in that armor.
In fairness, Battletech's relationship with infantry is weird.
I mean, they don't exist, really.
I mean...
not in the cartoon.
No, but they do exist in the game. You can actually...
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is the style varies massively. Because much like the Imperial Guard, Battletech's factions were born in the 80s. It's basically it's a science fiction that's still very heavily influenced by its origins in the 80s. So a lot of the infantry wear kind of funky 80s sci-fi style armor, but then often you'll see them in off-duty, and it's just normal fatigues and jumpsuits and the like. Or
you're going to say sweatpants.
I mean, not being funny, there's quite a lot of artwork of mech warriors who are literally just in their skivvies because it's so hot in the cockpits. It's the only way you can actually survive.
Has anyone done like an Imperial Guard army in like a Southern American like wife beater sweaters, beer stains on the tops kind of army? Because that would be pretty cool. I was just thinking of like a Sentinel, but like with the what's the Dukes of Hazzard's car called?
Oh, the General Lee.
The General Lee paint job on it.
With your back.
That would be really cool army.
I think there are issues with that, especially with the battle flag of the Confederacy, unfortunately. Much like people who get carried away doing their 40k and leaning hard into the, shall we say, fascist iconography and trying to replicate the styles of, well, let's just say Germany in the period of the 1930s to mid-1940s. Mm-hmm. It's all about how you picked it. I mean, the beautiful... They're
just good old boys looking for some fun.
Yeah.
Never meaning no harm.
They never mean no harm. They dong never mean no harm, brother.
I mean, I have seen. I think someone did there was a resin kit of an orcified General Lee.
Oh, that works really well as well.
Yeah, but then you also get like an orcified 18 van, which is just great.
I've seen that. It was a 3D printed one though, but I did think it still looked pretty cool. To be fair,
yeah,
like, oh, that's neat. That's neat.
But let's face it, though, when it comes to kind of hillbilly stuff, a lot of people would gravitate to doing that as an orcish thing rather than an Imperial Guard.
True, yeah.
But if you want, you can do it, though. That's the beautiful thing. The way the Guard works, because they're drawn from billions of worlds that the Imperium inhabits, well, probably millions of worlds, I should say, you have every possible cultural mix you can imagine there.
I think the thing that just makes the Orcs and the Imperial Guard different is I think it's way easier to customize Orc stuff because it's ramshackled and it doesn't matter if it looks crap because it's just it's Orcs. Well, the Imperial Guard, if you're making them into a specific kind of look, they do have to still look coherent in a way. Yeah.
It's a bit trickier. Thankfully, it's easier now though because there are just. It's not just GW stuff, although GW has released a frankly mind-boggling array of plastic human kits in the last decade. There's stuff I never thought we'd see in plastic. You got all the stuff for Necromunda. You got all the Kill Team stuff that split into Imperial Agents and the like.
Imperial Agents is weird though, right? Because it's kind of its own little offshoot.
Yeah, Imperial Agents is a bit weird because
it's a mess. They don't know what to do with Imperial Agents clearly at the moment.
Yeah, they wanted to find a use for the Arbites and the Navy breaches, but then they did it by removing something that's been a part of the Inquisition pretty much for as long as they've been writing law, and that's the fact that they have dedicated stormtroopers, and people have painted up their guard, their Hazakin and Scions as inquisitorial stormtroopers. And now it's like, oh, well, do I run those as breachers or Arbites or as a Imperial? Or do I just put an Inquisitor in my Imperial Guard army? But that's not how I wanted it to work. So it's weird. Like I say, it is a bit of a mess. I mean, I like that they did it, but the execution has been...
To me, that army always felt like these were characters or these were units made for specific games like Necromunda, like a Warhammer Quest, for example, and then they've tried to ramshackle them into a quote-unquote army, but it doesn't work. I think you can use Arbites as like well, you couldn't do it in a tournament game, but in like a story game, you have these as extra troops that are just brought into the field. Like randomly, they'll come in if you're stuck on an Imperial world or something. You can't really have like the police just
they shouldn't be fighting on. They shouldn't be on a battlefield. I mean, the Navy breaches makes a little more sense because you can assume that they're.
Well, that's more like a spaceport, right? I mean, they work perfectly for what was the game?
Boarding actions.
Boarding action. They were perfect for that because that just makes sense. Space station kind of stuff. Anything on the ground is a bit more of a push.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that you're running them as like a force has been deployed to hold a starport, which is great narrative.
Yeah,
but it makes it harder to justify them being used in a broader, because of how the missions work for 40k. Some of them it doesn't make sense for them to be there, but that might be the army you have.
Unfortunately, most of the objectives I've seen for 40k are run into the middle of a map and hold 3 areas, and it's like, oh. I can't imagine the police or like Navy officers being like, "Yep, I'm going to do that." Like, oh.
Yeah, it's odd, very odd to say the least.
Can you imagine, by the way, just sticking a couple of like current age British bobbies in the middle of all of this as well? It's like there's your faction, no guns. They don't even have guns. They just have harsh language, and that's it. Go stand over there, try and look as though you're in control. There's some orcs coming over. See what you can do. Good luck, lads.
Can you imagine trying to hit an orc with a truncheon?
It would be the equivalent of a kiss.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're teasing me, says the orc. Your big teeth as he pushes him. Ooh.
And you know what's going to happen. The truncheon will be taken out of the police's hand and returned to him in a different part of his anatomy. It's just the way the orc's going to be.
Yeah, they could do it as like a Tom and Jerry cartoon where he takes the truncheon, eats it, and then gives him back the handle. Oh.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, the orc would keep the hat. If it was the big, the big tall hat, the orc would absolutely keep that, just because it's so silly.
He'd do his best to balance it on top of his own head.
Again, I have seen third-party heads for our orcs with bobby helmets on. It's hilarious. God bless the community. But yeah, the community has also provided masses of extra options for guard. I mean, Wargames Atlantic are just a godsend. Victoria Minis is the most well-known third-party resin maker. Their whole shtick has been basically doing kits for regiments that GW doesn't support anymore.
Yeah, I think GW have dropped it a little bit because we've got so much diversity with the Space Marines, obviously, because that's the money maker, so just keep filtering. But the Guard have definitely lost out on a low. Like we've got back the Death Corps of Krieg, but that's literally it. There's the standard Imperial Guard, or what is now the standard Cadian Imperial Guard, and then there's the Krieg, and that's it, and nothing else exists. It's why I like images of like second ed Guard armies, where it's just like here's the Valkyrians, here's the standard Cadians, and here's the Catachans are in here as well, and here's the Talabeclan, and not Talabeclan, that's fancy. But here's every faction, and they're just working together, and I assume had different rules for each of their units as well.
Funnily enough, back in the day, they didn't. They're just
different models.
Yeah, it was just Imperial Guard. The only regiment that got dedicated rules was the Catachans in third.
Okay.
Because they had their own dedicated codex, Codex Catachan.
Hang on, was that about as big as the Dark Eldar book and the Necron book in third ed?
It was
smaller.
smaller.
Pamphlet?
It was smaller than that. Oh my god!
Oh yeah,
the Necron book was pretty small.
It was the smallest supplement, if I remember rightly, until the only supplement GW had published that was smaller was the second edition Assassin's Codex.
Oh yeah, that was.
And that was free in White Dwarf. So that's how
that was like a menu from a pricey restaurant.
That was 4 profiles, and then the rest of it was just lore. The Catachan one, though, at least has rules for fighting on a jungle table, which was actually quite fun and flavorful. The idea that you basically inverted how the table works. So you had clear channels of pathways, and then everything outside those you treated as the jungle. The jungle fighters were specifically designed to work. Their rules and the units they got were designed to work in that environment. You could use them outside it, and I actually did in one of my tournaments. I put a trio of snipers in there. They couldn't move once deployed, so you had to, but they could still take pot shots at stuff. And the old
can I ask? Sorry, when you're playing in one of those environments, say you've got Catachans against another force, that's not guard. So do you? Oh god, people who play the game are going to start yelling at the screen at me on this for my ignorance. But so do you treat it's like an aggressive environment? So does the jungle get a role on everyone there? And because the jungle fighters are more attuned to the location and that environment, they get massive saving throws. Whereas, I don't know. So like some of the enemies that they talk about when they talk about Catachan, like the thing that can it's like I think it's the fungus that pollutes your mind or something like that can take you over. Things like that. Do all participants have to roll against the environment?
There were bits of that in there. If I remember rightly, the jungle fighters' rules were they got an extra bonus to their saving throw for the jungle. They could see further than anyone else because the jungle functions as a specific type of blocking terrain. So they could actually shoot through bigger chunks of it than other units could, and they had options for traps they could buy and deploy. So pit traps and mines and all sorts of shenanigans. I think there was rules in there as well for hazards, and everyone rolled against them. But I think the fighters got a bonus on the table, so they were less likely to fall prey to them. It was a very flavorful book. It was completely intended for scenario play. It wasn't a set of rules that you'd ever really want to play as a tournament. Although I think that could have been quite fun to do a whole campaign or a tournament session where every game the terrain was jungle.
Yeah.
So everyone's affected the same.
Well, apart from Tyranids and Catachan, they would be the two factions that you'd probably give bonuses to.
That's a good point. The Tyranids did get some bonuses in jungle terrain as well, because Nids.
I mean, that'd be like the beach to them. They'd be just they're relaxing, enjoying the environment, maybe sleeping on a tree or two before eating it. Lovely.
Lictor dangerous.
Yeah.
Lictor in jungle, super duper dangerous. As you were describing what you would hope for there, Mr. White, I was like, that sounds like a really fun narrative game that is not in the current edition. Like,
no,
GW, if you're listening, I'm available.
No,
I must admit,
unfortunately, they don't want that stuff because they're not aiming to make narrative games. They're there to make tournament games now.
This is true. Actually, speaking of that as well, and something that you mentioned, Andy, as well, is so obviously the Guard have kind of been reduced, let's just say, by GW in terms of their promotion of the various, the plethora of different regiments you can have, and they focused on a couple of them. Is it because, I mean, I wouldn't associate, for instance, Catachans with a lot of the larger tanks, for instance. And although I'm sure you're going to tell me the equivalent models that they have for them, the fact is, and Andy said this, like these tanks sell. It's profitable. So is that maybe a reason why some of these more out there Imperial Guard concepts are kind of being streamlined and taken out and sidelined, if you like, because they know that, well, if you have Cadia, you can have all the standard tanks, all the standard gizmos, all the stuff that will sell. Let's pump the money into that.
There's a bit of that.
I hope that made sense, by the way. Sorry.
It does. There is a funny thing. When I think it was especially in 8th and 7th editions, when they were doing dedicated regimental rules, the jungle fighters actually did have a thing because they're supposedly famed not just for jungle fighting but for their armor.
Okay.
Because they do have dedicated crews. So their rules were a bit weird in that the infantry got a bonus to their strength, but then their tanks got a suite of bonuses as well if you were running them as Catachan tank crews. It was a bit weird, but no, I think that's a fair point that because things are so varied, they've tried to slim down the options. So
they've done that across the board, not just with the Guard.
Yeah,
everything's
absolutely
more simplistic.
It's kind of weird because there was a point for most of the lifetime of the game, the Guard were literally, you pick the units you want, and then you assign you work out what regiment your army is going to be, or you can have all these units. It doesn't matter what regiment they're from; they all behave exactly the same on the tabletop because they're all Imperial Guardsmen. It doesn't matter what regiment they're from; they'll perform exactly the same. And then, in the last 2 editions, they've given us bespoke rule data sheets for Cadian Shock Troopers, Catachan Jungle Fighters, and Death Corps Krieg, and their associated command units. Which in 9th was great, because you still had the standard Guard units available. The standard Guard squad of 10 men, where you could swap out 2 for a heavy weapon team, and a single special weapon. Because you could build that out of the kits that they had available. And now you can't do that. It's that particular data sheet that's been the baseline for the Guard since Rogue Trader is now only available as a Legends data sheet. You can't run it unless your opponent is happy for you to play using Legends rules. Everything has to obviously be Cadian Shock Troopers, Death Corps Krieg, Catachan Jungle Fighters, maybe Attilan Rough Riders, and any app humans you want to take. or Tempestus Scions, which is a different thing altogether. So it's a really weird thing where, yes, you've got the option of 3 really... Right, the Jungle Fighter kit needs replacing badly, but the Cadian and the Krieg kits are astoundingly good kits. They're really, really good. And you can get a lot if you have all the kits that they've released for those two regiments, you have a world of options available for adding variety within those units, but you're limited to what those regiments can do. And that in turn limits what can be attached to those units. So the Cadians have a Cadian command squad and a Cadian Castellan, or what used to be a senior officer. But they can only really be attached to Cadian units. The Krieg have a Krieg command squad that can be attached to Krieg units, but not to Cadian or Catachan ones. Whereas before, you didn't have dedicated regimental units, you just had the command squad, the command HQ, the infantry squad, the engineer squad. They weren't you tied them to a regiment as you were creating your army, whereas now it's defined by what you pick, which is, I think it's a shame. Because on the one hand, yes, it makes list building a lot simpler, I suppose, and you'd have some great kits to work with, but it's restricting what you can do. It's like the Catachans are nearly a 30-year-old kit now, and they can only take flamers because that's all that comes in the kit. In spite of the fact that the command squad has all the other special weapon options available. It's like,
is the command kit plastic as well, or is that just old?
The command kit's plastic. What they did was the Catachan Jungle Fighter Squad was the first plastic Imperial Guard kit released, I think, in 1997, I want to say.
Oh, is that before the Cadian one?
Oh, yeah. Came before the Cadians. In fact, I've never been too hot on that Cadian plastic kit mainly because I don't like the las guns. Because the casing is longer than on the Catachan one. The Catachan ones have a more stripped down casing, so they kind of look more like an assault rifle, if that makes sense, like a present day one. So you have the casing where the sight stops, the whole casing stops. You have a little bit more barrel, then with a bit underneath it, and then a bit more bracing, and then the rest of the barrel finishes up. The Cadian one, that gap where you have the barrel before the bracing is just casing. I've probably done a really bad job explaining that, but it's always been a weird one to me because I've always preferred the Jungle Fighter style of las gun. And they have gone back to it a few times. So they did a version of it for the Steel Legion, where it's more of a wire stock style of weapon, so a bit more carbine style.
Which one's the Steel Legion? Is that the one that that got replaced by Krieg?
Yes, they're the ones that, unfortunately, well, it's an all-armoured regiment who wear gas masks and a very familiar-looking helmet, and their regimental badge is a white circle with a red lightning bolt, which unfortunately has some connotations for...
Just a bit.
Yes,
I
it's
thought
unfortunate.
the reason they would drop was just because the Krieg ones sold better.
Well, the Krieg did sell well in resin. They were actually they were a great seller for Forge World. Same with the Elysians. Steel Legion were quite popular as a unit because they're actually really nice models. The big shame for the Steel Legion is that they never really got a decent range like the other regiments did in metal.
They were just an add-on for Armageddon, right? Effectively. Yeah,
they were extra flavor for Armageddon to give them but they did give, so you had a heavy bolter, a las cannon, and I know they had another heavy weapon as well. Was it a missile? Actually, it might have just been las cannon and heavy bolters for heavy weapon options. and then a grenade launcher and a plasma gun as the specials. But they did 2 sergeant models and a lieutenant, which is what all the other regiments got. The only thing they didn't get compared to the others was autocannons, mortars, and missile launchers, and a dedicated comlink trooper, which everyone else got. So, right. And a few of the other special weapons, but that wasn't a biggie, to be honest, because plasma and grenade launcher is quite a decent combo. But I think they were already planning to shift the range more towards the plastic. So it was about 2 years after that we got the plastic Cadians with the Eye of Terror campaign. And that just kind of became the standard, which is fair enough. They wanted to establish a template. I've always kind of preferred the classic Cadian look, where their armor was it looks more padded jacket, flak armor with, so not a solid body armor as the Cadians became.
Like, what's a good example visually, would you say?
Hang on. Well, I've put a picture in the chat of my Cadians. Let me just do a quick search. But the classic Cadians were much more. They were very clearly inspired by aliens, by the Colonial Marines.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I can see why they moved away from this look, because it is just
absolutely
alien look. Unfortunately,
I get it. They wanted to make it more a 40k thing. So
they wanted to not get sued, probably.
That as well. But the plastic Cadians the redesign did a lot to make the range feel. It had some throwbacks to the design cues of the original Imperial Army / Imperial Guard range. And, to provide a standard template to build off, yeah. And the fact that you can just do a head swap and paint it as you like and say what regiment it is, that's actually really great as a narrative tool as a gamer. That's kind of what you want,
Do you know what I fucking hate about this picture of your heavy weapons team, Big D? What do you think it is?
Is it the fact it's on the Tau box?
It is on a fucking Tau box, the Tau army box.
I was gonna say I could feel Andy's antagonism growing.
Fucking aliens.
If it's any consolation, that wasn't my Tau box. That was my housemate at university.
Is it in your house now?
The box, yeah.
It's yours. It's your box.
Yeah.
That box has my.
It doesn't matter.
It has your taint on it. It's your box now.
Well,
I'm not saying you put your actual taint on it, but it probably smells like you now. I mean, you might have. I don't know what you do with your boxes at home alone.
Hey,
ladies and gentlemen, how quickly the tone of the conversation changes when we realise there is a Tau sympathiser in the midst.
Yeah. Fucking Tau.
I've only ever built one battle suit, and it was under duress.
I always thought the Tau looked better in Dawn of War. There's something about the angles that they did on the suits, and the standard Fire Warriors that looked better than the model range. I don't know what it is.
Well, it helps that they were moving.
I thought I was crazy. I thought I was weird thinking that.
No. I thought the Tau were great until I saw them in Dawn of War. I thought, that's actually a really nice looking function. It's like action. But it's funny enough, I didn't think so much of the Necrons in that. But when I saw the actual tabletop models, I was far more impressed with those than in the game. But it was the flip for the Tau, which was a bit weird. But that was just down to my personal taste.
I mean, the Necrons were a bit weird at that point, because that was the period where they were lacking in. It was the Satan that gave them their personality, and it was after the Dawn of War series had moved across. It was after Dawn of War 2, I think, where they flipped the script and just made them full-on Tomb Kings in space, where all the lords have their personalities and they're just petty little bastards.
That's because you can't really do any. They had to make one pariah character the speaking voice, because there was no character for the Dawn of War thing. So there's nothing. Yeah. I thought they looked cool, but there wasn't much to attach yourself to in Dawn of War. There's just do you like robot skeletons? Do you like really, really slow gameplay? And I will say in the current game, the definitive edition, I'm sure they used to be stronger. I think they've tweaked them, and it feels like the Necrons are crap. They feel really bad to play as.
I will say on the tabletop, Necrons currently, I'm playing Necrons in a Crusade. They're great fun. I'm making my opponents have been infuriated by my will-be back rolls. It's fantastic.
Actually, this is a good a point for me to kind of jump over to a different topic, and it actually builds on the Necrons, because while the Necrons on the tabletop are going through various changes, the biggest thing you mentioned is the way that the lore on recent books, the Infinite and the Divine, all of these they turn them into a bunch of really, really grumpy, really, really, really old men, and I like elements of that. And the weird thing about the Imperial Guard is, no matter how much, as Andy said, that the kind of GW focusing on what's profitable and streamlining things and making things a little bit more kind of cut and dry for them, but you've then got this influence of the novels and the games, which are still then instilling all this personality back into little groups. So you've got like the Valhallan from the Kane books, where I know all these people that are part of this force. And so I don't view them as just a force on the table. I view them as individuals. And so I love the way, and you're going to have as well with fan films, fan projects, and then eventually with this Amazon thing. Are they going to spend out the money in trying to do live action Space Marines? Or are they going to save a bit of money, ramp up the horror, and just feature Imperial Guard, or at least human characters? They're probably going to do a little bit of the latter more than the former. And I just think the Guard, as much as GW wants you to go, hey, you've only got Cadian, you've only got Kree, you've maybe got some Khazad-dûm, and that's about it. I like to think that modern media is going to push back and make other Imperial Guard more visible in the public's eye. I don't know what you two think about that, but
I think it would be incredibly hilarious if Amazon decided to do Imperial Guard and dress them up using the Starship Trooper armor, which is probably still around.
Oh, that'd be a beautiful piece of irony.
They just spray green and make them wear tan, and it's like good enough.
I'll tell you what, it'd be great if they got to a place and the previous detachment who'd all been killed was wearing that.
That'd be funny.
That'd be beautiful.
Oh, they were using the old armor. That's really funny.
Look at these pathetic guns that look as though they came from a Steadicam. What the hell are they doing?
They could get real meta and actually specifically hire a few of the Starship Troopers cast.
Oh yeah, Johnny Rico's still around, the actor.
Yeah, Casper, Dina Myers still doing stuff. Jake Busey's still doing stuff.
We can't have Dina Myers doing it. She still looks too good, regardless of her age. We'd want her to survive. But the rest of them, fine.
I mean, Michael Ironside is a grizzled old general. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Michael Ironside now?
He's 70s, I think. Late 70s. Yeah.
Yeah, he could say he'd work. I wish he was younger, because he would have been really good for an Imperial Guard role, but he wouldn't have gone for an Amazon TV show at that age either. Yeah. Now maybe. Now he probably could have.
Clancy Brown is a commissar.
I knew you were going to say Clancy because of our conversation the other day.
I'd want you to dye his hair, because he's very white bearded and haired, and you'd want to get some gray in there rather than just pure white.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. White.
That's okay. I saw a picture of myself the other day, and it's basically all white hair on my face now. So
the Santa look is coming strong. Because there's a difference between grey hair and just pure white.
Yeah, and when you grow out a beard and it goes fully white, that Santa comparison is lethal. So I've got to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, especially, I mean, my beard just has these long streaks of greyish white in it now, which is somewhat distressing. But
welcome to the club.
It gives it a bit of salt and pepper to the look.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a thing in my life for at least 2 decades now. So yeah.
So what's your
perfect
favorite
segue from Imperial Guard to old men talking about getting old?
I was going to ask, what's your favorite Imperial Guard regiment then, Big D? One that isn't used today, so not the Death Corps, not the Catachan, which is barely used, but used, and not the Cadians.
I mean, I'd probably go with the Tanith, to be honest. I've been following Gaunt's Ghosts. I've been following their journeys ever since their first stories in Inferno.
Well, what makes them stick out then compared to the other Imperial Guard factions?
I mean,
regiments.
They've had so much written about them, for one thing. Dan has done a spectacular job with the Ghosts. I make a point now to do a reread about once a year of the entire series. Last time I did it with the audiobooks, because you can now get the whole series on audio.
All of it? How many books is that?
I think it's 15 or 16.
Damn.
The only thing I would say
per book as well.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is that they only got Toby Longworth in start because of how they released the books and started doing audios. Toby Longworth only comes on board for the last 2 books proper, and then they went back and began doing it from the start. But they'd done 2 books before that, Blood Pact and Salvation's Reach, with different narrators. And now Blood Pact is fine. It's actually a really good listen. I couldn't listen to Salvation's Reach because I can't remember who the narrator is, but their depiction of a couple of characters offended me.
Okay.
Because it was just because partly it's because I'd heard those characters done by Toby, and in my mind when I was reading the books, that wasn't how they sounded to me. So it was 2 characters in particular. There was the sniper Nessa, who's deaf, and another sniper, Mert, who took a really bad head injury and had his jaw replaced, which affected his ability to be a sniper. But the way this narrator had chosen to do them. Now, Nessa's a character. In the book, she often doesn't actually speak. She normally signs. But when she does, she can speak because she can still lip read and stuff. She just can't, like a lot of deaf folks, she can't modulate her own voice.
Yep.
But the way he chose to do her voice, it sounded offensive.
Okay.
And the same with Mert. It was really disappointing because I like Salvation. Salvation's Reach is a really good book. It's one of the ones that marks as this. For about 6 years, it was the last Gaunt's Ghost book because there was a big gap between that and War Master. But it was a bit of a shame, that one. So I went back and just loaded up my Kindle copy and read it that way. But partly it's personalities, partly it's the idea of the Ghosts, that they're this light recon regiment. So they have a specialty, but they often don't get used for it because of how the Guard very often doesn't deploy regiments to where they're going to work the best, just to where they're needed. So you'll often find, as there is in one of the Kane books, the Ice Warriors of Valhalla, in one book, are deployed to a desert world.
Yep.
Which is not where you want to. They're great at night where the temperature drops, but during the daytime,
they're screwed.
Like it was for Ghosts, a lot of their stories, they're put into situations where you don't want a light recon unit. They're not the guys you put on the line. They're not an assault regiment. They don't come with integrated armor because, burnt on Tanith. Because originally it was supposed to be 3 regiments with all the support, but they can only get 1 regiment's worth of troops off-world with their equipment. So basically support weapons and personal weapons, no artillery, no tanks or anything. And no officers, which is kind of, in retrospect, that becomes more and more hilarious the more you read it. The idea that Gaunt managed to get about 3,000 or 4,000 troops off planet for Tanith burned. Not one of them was ranked above a sergeant. And in fact, the two guys he puts in charge aren't even corporals. They're both just troopers, the ones who confront him. So he goes, well, you're the leaders. You're Colonel Corbeck and you're Major Rawn. Get on with it.
Yeah.
But it's a compelling series, and the personalities of the ghosts, it's gone a long way to helping me when I've collected my guard armies to try and put my own spins on things and come up with my own characters. You know?
Yeah.
And also because they're a mashup of Welsh and Irish and Scots and just general Celtic kind of, not stereotypes, but ideas and language. It's an idea that just very appeals to me. I mean, otherwise, I've always had a soft spot for jungle fights of Catachan, but they're still available quite heavily. But the other regiments, that's a tricky one. I do like the idea of the Talon, but I like how they got redone for Forge World, where they did some artwork where they didn't look as heavily Bedouin inspired. They looked much more like troopers in regular army gear that just happened to have a hint of Arabic flair and a kufti as the headdress. Okay. So it felt more realistic. One of the issues with the second edition Guard range is that it does very much lean into cultural stereotypes, whether fictional or just ones that are taken as they're very common in people's minds.
You shock me.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, there isn't. There's a reason stereotypes are useful, because they do give you great narrative shorthand.
And it gives them all an interesting, distinct look as well.
Exactly. That original line of guardsmen is a wonderful lineup, because each regiment has a really distinct vibe. You've got a lot of personality in all of the models across the line. You can pick a regiment from that original set and probably have yourself a damn good time coming up with stuff. Because, I mean, it wasn't even just like they did one squad for them. By the time third edition rolled round, each of those original regiments had a second squad's worth of sculpts released, and at least a platoon commander officer, and a couple of special characters for specific regiments. So there were options you could play with if you were. It encouraged creativity for Guard. Always has done. I mean, I love picking up resin bits and pieces, 3D printed parts from folks. Just different heads can help you give so much variety to what's there.
Mm.
And the modern kits are. I know people knock from the bodies are all monopose, but I don't mind that. In fact, because it gives you bodies that look more natural. And you haven't got to faff about adding all the extra kicks it's on the sculpts. You can instead play around with different arms, different heads, and then think about how you're going to paint them to be different. And it's kind of freeing in a way, you know? Because you can just let your mind. It's a playground. You can go historical, you can go fictional, you can dip into any bag you want to make your regiment of Guard.
What's Mr. White's opinion on the way the kits are built these days?
For me, I'm going to admit my experience with them is incredibly limited. So I would say that when they release them, I think it's less on the kits because I don't have so much involvement with kits in the building. It's more just on the way that whenever they seem to release stuff, there seems to be so many polarizing views on what fans want. They want more diversity in terms of the regiments shown, and obviously there's there's kickback against certain things that GW is trying to do at the moment. I do think though that it would be nice for them to try out a few new things. I mean, isn't it, as we're recording this, in the last 24 hours, haven't GW dropped something new in terms of the Astra Militarum? They've got a Grizzled company.
Yeah, they got a new detachment, part of the old Grotmus thing, which is quite fun. I've had a look through the detachment. It's a lot of fun stuff.
I think they should, though. I think they should bring out, even, I know it's not going to make the money. This is the thing. I'm saying the obvious thing that would discount it from 40K's point of view, but find a way to celebrate some of these companies that are still being used, that people are still fans of, and just bring out something small for them every once in a while. Just, because let's face it, every other box set coming out is going to fit well with a Cadian army or a Krieg army.
Yeah.
Okay, there'll be some slight differences between the two, but bring out something for the Mordians or bring out something for the Valhallans, and just don't penalize people for liking a particular group. As long as it's not Tau, we're happy with whatever they do.
I mean, I would love them eventually to do a box of Gavesa auxiliaries of a Tau, humans who have gone native, but that's more of a just, I'll enjoy seeing weird stuff like that.
I'm sorry, the sound you can hear now is Andy retching.
It's just traitors,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Personally, I think we will start to see other regiments get some plastic love in the next couple of years. I suspect we'll probably see a box of jungle fighters for Kill Team.
That would make the most sense, yeah. It's a shame that they're not getting the full thing, but it makes most sense to do them as Kill Team kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, it's a great way to refresh a squad kit, because then it then becomes available as a way to just phase out the existing Jungle Fighters kit and say, oh, look, now you can have all these weapon options back.
But there are negatives to putting it as a kill team as well, which is why the Catachan being exclusively kill team is annoying, because they're more expensive for stuff that you don't want.
Yeah,
that's true. You do have
cards and stuff which you don't want. If you just want to build out your Imperial Guard army and you want more specialized troops, you're fucked. Same for the Eldar and the Striking Scorpions. You can't buy Striking Scorpions on their own. You have to buy the Kill Team version. So it's at
the moment,
40 quid?
Yeah, that is a frustration with how they're doing that model. But we've seen that a couple of units have started to rotate back out of Kill Team now. So the Death Corps, the Sisters Novitiates, the Chaos Legionnaires, they're all now, they've been repackaged.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not in Kill Team packaging. Their rules have been... There are still rules for them, but they're now no longer part of the current rules packet.
It took a while for them to come out of that cycle, though, didn't it?
It did, but that's because they wanted to make sure that they weren't penalising people who had bought into those kill teams. They wanted to give them a solid, I think, 18 months it was, if I remember rightly. So they wanted to give them, they wanted to give them a couple of seasons of play, so before they phased them out. So people knew that was coming down the line. But also so that they could then, it would give them space to do more kill teams without having a bloated roster. Because, I mean, I make a point of downloading all the updates GW put out, and the kill team updates, it was becoming a tad excessive, because it was like 40-odd kill teams.
You say it's to keep it in the rotation so people don't feel screwed, but I don't think there's any reason you couldn't, if GW wanted to, they couldn't just put it out at the same time. You have your kill team kit with the cards, and you have your less expensive set for 40k.
Absolutely.
You want to try and maximize your money so you can get more money. So you go, well, this is the only way you can get them. We're not going to tell you when these are going to come in individual packaging. So if you want your Striking Scorpions, or you want your Catachan, you got to get them now.
I mean, there's two approaches to that. One,
it's a business move. You know?
It's a business move.
It's not a customer. It's not a nice thing for the customers. It's just it keeps
the SKUs down, because that is a factor that GW have to keep an eye on, just like almost every company who has a product. it might have been an idea for them to offer them as non-kill team units before they came out of rotation, but as a direct only. But so that way, but that would then limit third-party sales, because although there are third parties that they can order direct-only product, it's at a reduced discount to what they get from on the mainline product. So I can see both sides. I think you make a very good point there, Andy. That it would be nice if they rotated out quicker, and it is a shame that you do end up having to buy kits with a bunch of stuff you don't necessarily want. I mean, hell, if you want multiple squads, then you're buying of anything that's in a kill team rotation, you're ending up with multiples of punch card stuff. Which, even if you're playing kill team, you don't want that many copies of punch cards. Which is a bit of a shame. But
business.
It is. But, I mean, kill teams is how I imagine they will start to filter in more of the guard regiments we've been talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, Valhallans are an obvious one just because it's a different style of greatcoat unit to the Krieg, and they are an iconic regiment that, because of the Kane books, because GW themselves, they pushed the Valhallans for about 6 or 7 years as the default guard, even over Cadians. Before the plastic Cadians came out, they were pushing Valhallans real hard. That was the unit they chose to do as the Ultramar PDF when they were doing the Battle of Macragge stuff. So it kind of would be nice to see them have another swing taken out of them. Talon would be great. Mordians and Praetorians is a 2-in-1 kit for one, but also
how would you make them unique in kill team, do you think, to make them stand out? Because I think that would be hard, because effectively they are just like all men with gun, but slightly different look to them. So how do you make jungle fighters? I think that makes more sense in a way, because at least you can, in a jungle fighter, you can look at Predator and get some kind of ideas of what they can do versus a normal army trooper.
They could lean hard into that, lean into the jungle fighting specialists. I mean, personally, I hope if they do jungle fighters, it's tied into a kill team expansion that is jungle terrain. Because one of my big gripes about 40k in general, not just kill team, but tabletop 40k, is that it's ironic that we've seen a shift over the lifetime of the game, whereas originally normally you'd play on green table mats with hills and forests and the odd bunker here or there, or the odd ruin. Now, it's like you're playing on a stripped-down city fight table where it's all ruins and...
Yeah.
I'd like to see them do more trees, really. It's as simple as that. A jungle version of Kill Team could be a lot of fun to mess with. But you could each regiment has kind of a specialty. So for Valhallans, one, they hate orcs, and they're tenacious. So give them, say, some leadership buffs. And it's for specialists as well that kind of help make the kill team. So the Death Corps had a demo specialist, a sniper, medics, comm specialists, an artillery spotter. Valhallans, sure, they could have a demo specialist. You could have someone who specializes in knife fighting, scout.
You could have Jurgen. That's all I would want. You could have Jurgen. I would buy that box set. There we go.
If they did a Valhallan box set and did as a tie-in to it, had a plastic box of Kane, Jurgen.
I don't mind. Honestly, I'm not bothered about Kane. Just give me Jurgen. A really pungently smelled person cradling a very dangerous gun that somehow doesn't blow up in his face. Yep, perfect.
I was just thinking a box set that was Kane, Jurgen, Amberly, and a bunch of the other characters who've appeared. So maybe
Sula, a slightly horse-shaped face.
Damn. She looks like Sarah Jessica Parker.
Add in Castine and Brooklaw, and you'd have the set. It's perfect.
Oh no.
Yeah, add in some of Amberley's sidekicks like Mott and the well-endowed psychic who goes nuts anytime Jurgen's around.
But by the way, listeners will probably start to realize how limited my knowledge is of everything else apart from a couple of books.
But the Kane books are really good, and they do give you a really great insight into the Guard or the Astra Militarum. I can never call them Astra Militarum. I try, and I always default back just Imperial Guard because I've been saying it for 30-odd years. I can't stop it.
Well, the Astra Militarum is the Ponzi rich person way of saying it in the Administratum, while Imperial Guard is what the real people call it.
Absolutely.
Also the Militarum was what Rabute came up with after it was changed from the Imperial Army, which was created by the Emperor. Which I like. I like the parallels as well to the Space Marines. And in fact, it might even be a little flex that the current Guard can, pop back at the Space Marines and go, look, we were essentially, our organization was created by the Emperor, just as yours was. So,
yeah.
Actually.
Well, actually. Then again, I don't think any of the penal legions would probably be so proud.
No, not at all.
Oh, sorry. That was something I one of the few notes I had jotted down. Has there ever been, for the tabletop, a penal legion?
Yes.
Right. Are they completely batshit crazy, or are they quite standard?
Originally, yes, batshit crazy. So there were 2 penal units you could buy in Rogue Trader. There was the actual penal troopers, which was a squad led by, I can't remember what, I don't think it was a commissar, but there was a warden attached to them.
Okay.
And all of them had, I think they had explosive collars.
I was going to say, is this the human bomb model? Or is that from a different unit?
I was going to get to the human bomb.
Yeah.
But the penal troopers were a unit. You had the explosive collars that the guy could detonate. They also had combat drug injectors that you could buy different drug for them. So it's for ones that become kind of classics in the setting. So Slort and Friends on.
Oh, so it's not all bad.
No. The warden, when they're close to the enemy, just presses a button and away they go.
I didn't think you would agree with me. I thought you'd be like, but no, you're like, yeah, drugs, yeah, okay, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Is that not like a small step towards some of the assassin that is just heavily drugged?
Yeah.
So it's almost like the baby steps towards that.
I mean, it's a lot of the same drugs. The difference is that the Eversor assassin was already a highly lethal killer before they decided they put him on that track and did all the upgrades.
Whereas this version is like Bob Smith, who just happened to piss off a commissar.
Well, the penal legion can be... Well, quite often it is guardsmen who've had done an infraction and the commissars don't want to waste a bullet on them and they let the enemy do it instead. Or they're literally from a prison planet that's just had a bunch of people scooped up in a recruitment drive and thrown at the enemy. It's a think of all the worst ideas for words penal regiment, penal battalion, penal legion can inspire, and odds on, that's part of what makes this unit work.
I'm really, really sorry, but I can't speak.
Am I sounding too excited about that?
But no, it's just, you say, think of all the things you think of when you say the word penal. And I'm like, Andy and I are both going,
yeah, I should have thought that, shouldn't I? Yeah.
Remember, we're old only in body and in appearance.
I should emphasize, I'm saying penal, not penile. There's a subtle difference, folks, but it's very important. If you're asking for a penal legion, you're going to have a very different experience.
I believe that's where Slanesh comes in.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so you had them, and you also had the human bomb, or human bombs, because it was actually a unit, not an individual.
Were they more effective than the dog bombs used in World War II? I imagine they were, because they probably didn't come back.
Yeah, because they weren't trained under one type of tank and didn't realize and couldn't tell the difference between, or they could tell the difference between that tank and the enemy tanks and kept running towards their own tanks. Bless them. It's sort of in retrospect, it's so obvious, isn't it? And then but you don't think about it until it starts happening, and then it's like, oh shit.
It's not like they've done things that are just incomprehensible to human people, like drugging dolphins and giving them hand jobs in a flooded basement somewhere. That one's for you, Gruff. Got to bring up the CIA dolphin jerkers.
And there was me thinking you were bringing up Johnny Mnemonic.
No, that's a different thing.
The Cold War was a weird time if you dig hard enough. There's some. It wasn't just the Americans being batshit. Everyone was being batshit. It's just they had a bigger budget for it.
I should note that obviously everyone is still being batshit right now. It's just a different kind of it's a more innocent time of batshittery.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, yeah.
But yeah, the human bomb was literally what you think. It's dudes who were given a suicide vest and pointed at the enemy, and they just have to run at them and then blow up.
Or if they don't, they just blow up anyway, I suppose, if they don't want to.
Yeah, I think there was a possibility if they were shot before they got to the target, because it was a rogue trader and it was granular like that. If one of them took damage, you had to check to see if the vest detonated.
It reminded me a lot of if you played Serious Sam, the guys that run at you screaming on like that.
Yeah,
it's a shame because the model's actually pretty cool. Doesn't look like he's got a bomb on him though.
No, it's actually a really nicely sculpted vest.
Yeah.
It's only when you see him next to other guardsmen you think, oh yeah, that's explosives around his gut. Yeah.
Which, to be fair, it just looks like those could be grenades he could throw at people, to be fair.
Yeah. And it doesn't help that they're giving him just the empty holding hands.
Is he not holding a grenade? It looked like one of his closed fists, the other one, because they've kind of drawn black in between the hole in the hand, it looks like he's holding something, but it might just be like a gap. Or meant to be a gap.
I think they were kind of trying for that, but the old drug trader arm sprue was a bit basic. And this was from the period where a lot of the troops were metal bodies with no arms, so you went with what was available there.
I take it that's just the sculpting style of the time when it came to the face, and that's not like a death mask.
I think it's just like paint.
Yeah, they've just painted it on that way.
It's just like a big X on his face. Like, Native American style, I'm guessing, or something like that.
The sculpts of the guard were pretty much almost uniformly the Perry brothers, if I remember rightly. Michael and Alan for certainly this guy and a lot of their contemporaries right through to the end of second edition.
I think you could argue that the metal Imperial Guards were a massive upgrade compared to the plastic kits in general. The Catachan are the obvious ones where you go, oh yeah, they were just better as metal figures.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, those jungle fighters were a lot cheaper to buy when they first came out. The plastic ones.
I wasn't talking about the cost. I was talking about the sculpt. Sculpts were better as the metal. Doesn't
I mean, some of it also comes down. Some of it also comes down to the painting because I did 100 plastic Catachan jungle fights for an army. That I took to a GT, and I didn't paint them in GW standard. I did them my own way, my own color scheme. Still jungle fighters, but a bit more variety. But I also I've never been anywhere near as good as the heavy metal painters, but I do think my jungle fighters, I prefer how I did them to how the studio jungle fighters for the plastic kit look. Because, some of those paint jobs they're not great.
Yeah, but it's also the sculpt is bad.
Yeah, that's it. You can improve a bad sculpt a little bit by the paint style, but the sculpt style is still going to be like the underlying thing that makes or breaks it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not helpful that the head that everyone focuses on is possibly the worst head in the set.
The other ones still aren't great, though. I mean, if I've put in the image like 2 jungle fighters versus 2 jungle fighters, metal versus plastic. The metal ones are just better.
That plastic one. Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, that's the bad one. The one in the front there.
Sorry, what style of painting is that on the body? Was that the way it just, that feels really odd. That feels almost like he's trying to turn the body into armor plates.
It's just
is that just the way? Is that just the way it was back then?
What do you mean?
Yeah, it's a very chunky. It's a darker flesh color as the base, flash wash, and then lighter shades over top, and another wash.
Yeah.
Well, you could do another wash. Some people didn't do that, but
okay. Sorry, based on what as well you guys were just talking about, is this a faction as well where the older models, so the older metal models, are they super expensive to get now? Like when you're talking eBay, or are they still, because people would have obviously bought masses of them because they're Imperial Guard, but is it really difficult for people to just jump in and go, yeah, I want a bunch of metal troops?
Well, I guess it depends what you mean by difficult, because you can get them.
Sorry, you're right. Pricey. Let's just say pricey.
Price-wise, I'm looking at a jungle fighter for, like, on his own with no base, £9. So for one model, I mean, you could argue by today's standard, that's still cheaper than a character model from GW, but for a squad, it's, you know.
It can swing a bit. I mean, it can depend on the regiment, because some of the regiments were more popular than others, so they were bought, and consequently there was more production made of them. That sniper, that Mark Trooper was great with the lasgun.
Yeah,
I do still have a few metal.
Like, that's not bad. I mean, you could probably it was free shipping. Again, I guess it depends, because you can eBay kind of swings and roundabouts. You can find like. I saw a Carnifex metal one go for like 20 quid compared to ones that are like 60 quid. So
it's usually, it can depend on if it's being sold as an auction, buy it now price, taking offers, and just how rare the model was. I mean, there's a female jungle fighter with a grenade launcher that was only released. It was released towards the end of the metal era and early in third. And initially, it was an event exclusive, but it then got rotated. But then it appeared in the blisters when they were selling special weapons as 2 to a blister. So the jungle fighters had that, as well as the plasma, the flamer troopers, and the melter troopers. So you had 4 special weapons available, and you could buy her in that. But they never announced it. It was just, if you were looking at the blisters, then you could suddenly come across her. And it was like, oh, okay. And she's actually she's one of the harder to find ones as well. But
she's an event one and came out near the end of that era's range. Yeah, I'm not surprised really.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm trying to think. I think I've got a picture of my one somewhere.
Oh, I think I found her. She's got a very Sly Marbo face for the time period, which she's not a pretty lady, but it's a bad paint job. It's this one, right?
Yeah,
she's got a grenade launch in one hand and then a machete in the other.
Big ass knife. Yeah. Mine. The one I got, it's not a great picture because of how long ago I took
tell
it.
It's better painted than the one I posted.
I never finished it, that unit. It was it was for guard armor I never got around to finishing. But I was
shit, he's got a kill shot in the back row. Kill shot, 2 pistols sideways, kill shot. Oh shit.
Yeah, I was having fun. I was building a special weapon squad, but as a squad of engineers.
Oh, okay.
So bits from some of the tank crews and just having a bit of mess around with them.
Mm-mm.
But I also tried to file down the greaves on her boots, because the jungle fighters had distinctive raised greaves for most of their models. Whereas the Cadians, they'd moved to a smooth greave instead. And fool that I am, I decided to file down a metal miniature that you can't buy anymore.
Yeah,
oh, no,
rare
you
one.
can. You can. It's 40 quid on eBay at the moment.
Oof, for one mini.
For one mini.
That's rough.
Yeah.
It's not the worst for an exclusive, but it's not a price I'd want to pay.
Yeah, there was a female commissar that I think goes for a lot more because she was available even. Yeah, she was available for a much smaller period of time and isn't a particularly great sculpt, to be honest, compared to the other commissars at the time. But just for novelty, she was kind of fun that he was out.
She's the one with the weird hat, right?
Yeah, she doesn't. She kind of stands out amongst the other commissars as being a bit odd.
She almost looks like a bizarre, like, school monitor or lunch lady in a weird way.
Yeah, wow. that one's had a bit of kit bashing done to it, but still, that is pretty much the model as it came. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they've changed out the pistol for a plasma, and that's it.
Yeah. I think there might have been a variant with a chainsaw instead of a power sword, but generally it's...
And a quick Google look, it looks like it's all power swords. I don't see a chainsaw, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not great compared to, again, the metal commissars were really good. I don't know, how many plastic commissars were there? I know the one...
There have been... Technically now there are 3 plastic commissars because there's...
I mean, like one edition that came with the combat patrol, that one.
Oh, just for one in that case, because you had that plastic
the
commissar.
Ones were way better.
Yeah, I mean, even for Commissar Lord, that I ended up picking up in Finecast because I couldn't find a metal one. Even the Finecast version of him's quite nice as commissars go. But for Commissar Minis in general, there was only... The only one that never really hit for me was the one with the axe from 2nd edition. And that's more because his hand flamer was a bit weird. But
what was wrong with the hand flamer, would you say?
I think it was just... It was actually, I think, just his hands in general were quite big compared to the rest of him.
Oh, very, very heroic style.
Yeah, he looked a bit out of place compared to the other commissars of that era, because you had the big dude with the power fist and the sword, and the one with the sunglasses and the bolter and the power sword.
The one with the sunglasses. He's great.
Yeah, I do find it fun how they eventually did him as a variant for the Steel Legion with a gas mask. That's fun.
Gotta have the sunglasses, though. Silly. Then you have Yarrick, who just looks like... To be fair, the only difference between Yarrick and other commissars is he has the nipple pincher. That's about it.
I mean, it depends on which version of Yarrick. 3rd edition Yarrick for Armageddon, yeah, he looks a lot like the other commissars.
Yeah.
Generally, whereas 2nd edition Rogue Trader Yarrick, because that's where that mini first came out.
Which one's which? Which is the one where he's got the nipple pincher in the air?
Well, that's one of the banner pole with the orc skull on top. That's the Rogue Trader one.
Oh, that's the one I'm thinking. Oh, yeah, there's the other one with the like a proper orc power claw. That's right.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to find a way I can order one, because RTLW have done a really nice version of Yarrick. A stunningly good version that it's got some build options, but it kind of combines elements of both GW's versions to make an excellent mini. The only problem is Artel only take orders via PayPal, and I don't have PayPal anymore.
Yeah, that is an issue. Yeah,
it's a little bit of a problem.
Does Mr. White know what I mean and why I call it the nipple pincher?
No, I don't actually.
Okay,
I'm looking, and obviously putting in Yarrick nipple pincher kind of brought up some very interesting results for me. So,
yeah.
You see how it's a nipple pincher, because it's like a power fist, but then the index finger and the thumb are just massive like claws, and then the other 3 fingers are just normal fingers for some reason. So it's the pincher. You pinch people, tweak.
Yeah, that's.
It's a bizarre design. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not just a full claw. Because what are you going to use those 3 fingers for on the bottom ever?
I mean, it's from a time where the orc range was still a bit weird itself.
That's great.
I mean, I do love how they painted it as a crab claw.
Yeah.
That was the default for the longest time, and I do have the 3rd edition Yarrick. I've never got around to painting him. I've always wanted to try and do his claw in. Shush. I've always wanted to try and do him in the style of Rogue Trader Yarrick, just for funsies. But the Artel one is a nice blending of both designs, I think.
Yeah, I can see why you like the 3rd edition one, because again, the power claw is a more normal looking weapon. I just wish it wasn't. I wish they kind of turned the angle. So instead of it being, I don't know how to.
It was side on, wasn't it?
Yeah, they just twist it so you can see more of the claw.
So it's giving more of a. So rather than him reaching out towards something, he's kind of like reaching towards the sky more.
Yeah, kind of like the one that you posted the image of in chat.
Absolutely,
it
does a lot to change the vibe.
The claw, you only see the side profile of where the details aren't on it. So all of the details are on the top, where you're not going to probably directly look at the model. The actual model of Yarrick himself looks pretty solid. Yeah,
I mean, Yarrick, I don't think has had a bad sculpt in his time, and there's been quite a few nice fan ones as well. I think I've got one from Brother Vinny that they did, which is a decent take on a Yarrick. He's more in motion because it's him running forward with his claw raised above him, more like from one of the book covers they did of him. It still works.
Has Mr. White seen the Sly Marbo mini? The original.
Oh no.
The metal or the resin? Because
Honestly, it looks like a militarized relative of the Addams family.
To be fair, the image I've put in is a really well-painted mini, so he looks even crazier because they've darkened like the bags around his eyes.
The funny thing is, I've actually done versions of this model, I think, at least 3 times.
This Sly Marbo?
Yeah, because I used it once as the base for one of my guard officers, and then I did one as Sly Marbo, which I think I might have sold that, and then I picked it up again to do another one, which I don't think I ever got around to doing, to finishing off, and then there's the resin one,
okay.
which is both a better sculpt and far more obvious in its inspirations.
Is that the one I put in the chat, the quote unquote new one? I'm not as fond of the new one because he looks a bit more like generic in a way. Like you look at the old Sly Marbo mini and you're like, oh, that's Sly Marbo. He looks horrifically deranged. He looks insane. This just looks like a kind of tough generic movie dude who you'd see usually. If you saw Sly Marbo, the original one, you'd be like, I'll remember that because that's a nightmare person, even if it looks weird.
And he was a great example of rules translating to the tabletop because, they made him, and depending on the edition, but 3rd edition especially, they went a bit nuts with him, to be fair.
Oh, God, that one from the really badly one to the really well-painted one, Jesus. They're both terrifying in different ways.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
The horror you see and the horror you don't quite recognize.
The one on the left is like a mud person. Yeah, like Clayface, like a mud man, like a horrible replica from the original.
That one looks like they've missed the fact that he is wearing a vest. And just painted it all as flesh.
They missed the fact that he was mostly human. They just ignored that completely.
Well, I think that's up in the air looking at the normal mini, to be fair.
That's true.
They say he was once a man. They were wrong. He was combined with animals from different species to make Sly Marbo.
I'm actually kind of surprised they've not tried to do any... I don't think they've done any fiction with Marbo in.
Really?
Yeah, they've done Strachan got a couple of novellas, I think. And Yarrick had his own trilogy of novels. But Marbo has had nothing. And given he's now kind of the longest running guard character with rules,
It seems like he's the perfect fodder for like early 2000s cringe over the top book writing, right? Where it's just like a stupid power fantasy where Marbo goes in and kills an entire hive fleet on his own. Like that kind of dumb book. It seems like that's the kind of character in the writing that would go with him.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? And especially for when he came out with the new model, because that was kind of the period where GW were doing more fiction based on characters from the tabletop. It's funny, they held off doing that for a long time. I mean, it was only really the Heresy books that started having characters that were recognizable in big roles. Before that, you had little cameos. So you had, I think, Mephiston and Dante in the Blood Quest books. And that was kind of it.
Right.
Araman in Demonifuge for, I think, 2 issues. But for the most part, they really shied away for the first 15-odd years of Black Library from doing anything with characters from the codices or the army books.
2 quick things. So I had a quick look, and Marbo does turn up in a couple of books.
Okay.
But it's whether it's there's one where he's younger, but I think the other references are possibly people talking about him as the legend. So it's being...
That makes sense.
The other thing is that Andy has convinced me that if they ever have Marbo in any project, it has to be played by a retired WWE wrestler. It just has to be.
Yep.
I mean, if they ever want to do Jungle Fighters, they just go to WWE and say, we would like to hire your buffest wrestlers for this amount of time. Can you write them off TV, please? And here's the check.
It's funny. It would be the first time that people would go, so what, could we maybe hire John Cena? And you go, no, too intellectual. No.
Oh, poor John.
Oh,
I know. I honestly, I do like John, but you could see he just wouldn't. It would just be him playing it too dumb. But the pic Andy has put in the chat is beautiful. It's the lime green hot pants.
I looked at that one. It just randomly popped up on Google, and I was like, "That's the Toxic Crusaders Catachan Jungle Fighter."
Yeah.
Lime green, bright orange, and then dark blue for the vest, and then baby blue for the arms and the headband, and white hair as well, because why not?
And his expression just screams, I'm at a McDonald's and you give me the wrong order.
Where are my nuggies? There's only 9 in a 10-piece meal, you fuck.
It is funny how they've basically they haven't actually removed the las pistol, they've just filed bits of it away, and it's become quite a decent take on a Magnum Desert Eagle.
I thought you'd just replace the whole thing. It's not. It's
not. They've clipped away basically the front quarter.
Well, that's neat. They did a good job then.
Yeah. Cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Imperial Guard. Who knew?
Yeah. They're just fun. They're not the cheapest faction to get into, being brutally honest. You want to try and find a decent army box, but...
Oh, I have a question. I have a question for both of you. Like, okay, what do we think about cat girls? When's it time to bring the cat girls in? They are in the law. They're part of the law.
I mean, if you really want them, you can find people who are doing the kits.
We need official GW ones. We need representation. So where are the cat girls?
It does seem like an easy one, doesn't it? To get some...
an easy
sell.
But here's the thing as well. Would you want them to be caked up, or would you want them to be? I don't want to say subversive, because subversive is always frankly, a washout. But would you like them just to be done in a really badass way?
I think what would be funny is, have you seen the furry scale where it goes from 1, which is just a girl with cat ears, to 10, which is an actual cat.
Yes.
I hadn't seen that, but now I don't think I can shake the image from my mind. Okay.
I want a kill team that's just 1 to 10. So you have one who is just a girl with cat ears, and then you have a literal, not cat person, just a cat with a gun and a helmet. And you have the ones in between. I think that would be a really fun team.
Actually, yeah, that probably would be, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I'm just reviewing the furry scale now.
It's an interesting scale, isn't it? Where do you fall on the furry scale? It's the question every man has to ask himself.
Remember, engage anonymous mode.
Well, no, this is research. You're just looking at a chart. You know.
I like the fact that the most extreme is just a cat, but they put underneath still a furry.
I mean, I had if you ever decide to search for Imperial Guard cat girls, for the love of God, implement safe search.
Is it that bad?
Oh, Rule 34.
Yeah,
if there's a thing, it exists.
Yeah.
But it is a point. Like there is a biases towards non-mutants really at the moment. You have one squad of Ratlins, you have one set of Ogren, and that's about it. And it's something they could like add a bit more to, not to a huge degree, because obviously they're shunned for a good reason. But
I mean, Abhumans is a weird one because you're right. I mean, for Ratlins, give me hope that we might get a resculpt of Viograns at some point. Because
you'd hope so, yeah.
Considering how well they're doing in certain games at the moment, they're really picking up a following. So yeah.
And I mean, Viogran kit. Honestly, it just needs the heads redoing because the faces are what do it for me. They're terrible. Every Ogren I've built, I've either used the better looking heads or I've used heads from Viogran War Tribes kits.
Yeah, because they all have baby heads for some reason. They look like big, ugly babies, unfortunately. The Bulgrins aren't as bad, but they're still not great. And I feel that the Ogre tribes are a bit too Mongolian for my own personal taste.
You do have to do a little bit of work on them. It's a shame because...
they're quite old kits in themselves, so, I don't blame them completely.
They're 2010s kits from the last time the Guard had a big refresh before.
Oh, I meant the Ogres, to be honest. I have an issue with
the Ogres as well. I mean, the Ogrins came after the Ogres, and you can see where the Ogrin took some cues from the design of the Ogres quite clearly. Which is not a bad thing, but it'd be nice to see him get a redo.
I preferred the old metal Ogrins as well. I like the way that they looked. I thought they had a really... I mean, they just looked like ogres from Fantasy, just with guns, and I thought that was a better look for them, personally.
I mean, I have the metal Nork, Dead Dog, because I just didn't like how the plastic upgrade version looked in the kit.
And
I specifically tracked that miniature down and picked one up, and he's a little... He's not that small compared to regular Ogrins, and once I get him, no laughing you, once I get him painted up to match the rest of the army, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And he'll look the part quite nicely. But it's just... They could do with a bit of a glow up, the Ogrin.
Definitely.
And I wouldn't be averse from doing another Abhuman squad. I mean, we've had Beastmen for the Chaos, and Beastmen used to have a unit in the Imperial Guard.
Yeah.
Because they were a unit. They are one of those more stable Abhuman genotypes, so the Imperium has used them normally as suicide troops, which is why a lot of them eventually turn to Chaos. Because they're more shunned than any other Abhuman. But that could be interesting if they did kind of bring in the Felinids. That could be a fun experiment.
Yeah,
maybe just one figure in a mixed group, because from GW's point of view as well, people would be desperate to get that one figure. So for GW, they're going to sell the set. I mean, it's typical like price gouging. You have to buy the whole set to get this one figure. But
and then you can even think, Mr. White, rubs my muddy hands.
Even you could even put it in the lore as well that maybe there are some slight similarities to the imagined tale, but the actual species there is just really pissed off because they're constantly being mistaken for these famous cat women, and they're really pissed off at it. So the whole demeanor is they're
that would
really
be hilarious. See, what I want now is an Inquisitor story with that character as part of the retinue, and then they do a box set for retinue with that character in. That
could be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they maybe just bring him into Darktide as another, because that would be an easy win for them as well. I'll say Darktide is the one that's championing so many individual characters.
If we had Felinids before an Admech player character in Darktide, would be the funniest thing possible.
It'd be a good testing ground just to see what people would think. It'd be like see what the interest is, because it's probably. Yeah, it's probably cheaper from a business side of thing to just shove a DLC character into a video game than produce an entire model to then try and sell it.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. It'd be interesting.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. But again, it'd be one of those things you couldn't have a lot of them because, they are tainted by the warp. So it's like...
You say that, that as soon as they introduce that character, you'd go on to...
Oh, people would buy loads of them, sure.
And you'd just be surrounded by them.
Oh, sure. Well, like triples. They just breed and breed and breed.
Yeah, you'd be in the... I forgot the name of the ship now, but you'd be in the mission briefing hall, and it would just be catgirls. Nothing but catgirls.
Oh, you mean in Darktide? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, in Darktide,
yeah. No, I meant in the video game you'd have to limit the number. But yeah, in Darktide, yeah, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Why should you trust abhumans? Because they're like the Christmas critter friends from South Park, and you don't want to risk that.
The Imperium, so stupidly biased.
No, I don't think it's stupid at all. I think it's complete from the lore perspective, and entirely necessary that they do what they do.
Yeah, and that they're treated the way they're treated.
Yeah.
Because in reality, no one would give a crap. They would just send them out, get the job done. If most of them don't come back, doesn't matter.
Yep. Everything the Imperium does is, at least when people say, I can't believe they treat people like that, it's incredibly practical. It's the most practical. The Administratum kind of backlog of information is always a bad call. But their entire hatred towards aliens is completely necessary and justified through history. What happened during the time? What happened in the AI war? What's the fighting the Steel Men?
The Men of Iron Revolt. Yeah, the AI rebellions.
Everybody teamed up together. Everyone had a good time, and they beat the robots back. Then Old Night happened, and what did the alien allies do? They turned on the humans when they were weak. Allies are not great when they turn on you when you're weak.
See,
after that, humans went, fuck them.
You have reminded me of an incredibly dark scene from one of the War of the Beast books, where there's an arbitrator who's been captured by the orcs and thrown in with a bunch of other prisoners, and they're all abhumans from a particular planet, so they're a stable genotype that is recognized by the Imperium. They're not... They're still Imperial citizens, but they're kind of restricted to their homeworld. And then the Space Marines arrive, and some Black Templars, quotation marks, rescue them. They see the arbitrator, see who she's surrounded by, and then they massacre all these abhumans. The arbitrator is horrified because they were just humans. And then I think, one of the last Imperial Fist basically punches out one of these Templars once he's told what they've done. It's a really dark scene, and the Imperial Fist doesn't react out of any sense of kindness, just out of duty that these Black Templars have overstepped themselves more than anything. It's a really... Those books are weird, but that is a particularly dark sequence.
How dare you kill these mutants, Black Templar, who hate chaos, and it like fanatically shrugs, goes,
Yeah,
pretty much. That is pretty much their reaction. And these are just line troopers. They're not a captain or anything like that. And they're facing off with literally the last Imperial fist. And it's dark, man. It's very Imperial, but it's dark.
Necessary.
Yeah. Which sums up the Imperial Guard pretty nicely, to be honest. They're necessary.
Yep. What do you think of the idea that, because there is a meme, a small meme that goes around that says, all Imperial, which I don't like because it's not true, that all Imperial Guards are untrained and you're just given a last rifle and told to go off and just die. And it's like, that's so not true because, yes, sometimes, but it depends completely on the lead, on the Imperial Guard regiment, right?
Yeah, I mean, most Imperial Guardsmen, even if they're raw recruits, will bare minimum have. The thing that people don't, it's really hard to get across because of it's really hard for our brains to get across the scale. The ships that the Imperium uses to transport guard regiments, even if it's not a the dedicated ones, they have whole decks and the regiments are given their own sections to inhabit, and they're like small cities themselves. They have ranges for them to do weapon drills on. I mean, we're talking long ranges big enough that they can practice artillery fire inside a spaceship. And that's just for one regiment. There will be multiple regiments in this damn ship. And even if they're on a ship that's not necessarily a dedicated troop transport, there will be decks big enough for them to do basic infantry training. And that's actually a plot point in one of the Ghost books where one of their young hangers-on decides to join the gun. He signs up because he's of an age. And although he's been trained by the Ghosts, because they all see him as a nephew, effectively, so he has a regiment full of uncles and aunts who've trained him with their skills, he still has to go through basic, which is, there's actually a detail aboard the ship that does it. So the idea that someone will be given a lasgun and some flak armor and pushed out for the disembarkation ramp into the enemy guns is a bit of a disservice.
Yeah, I think it works for like Darktide, where it's the penal guys, and it's just like, I don't care if you die, you're a criminal, who cares?
Yeah.
Or if there's a Tyranid invasion, and it's like, well, I don't care if you're 3 years old, we're all going to die. You need to get this gun now. I don't care. Yeah.
I mean, Darktide for Rejects, but part of the point of that game is that you're not playing someone who's not trained, that you can build your own little life story for your characters.
Yeah.
So they've done stuff before that. It's just kind of becoming good enough to be on an Inquisitor's retinue, effectively. So you're basically taking your character to that next level. Whereas, like you say, if your planet's been invaded, often it's whoever can fire a gun.
And I think it depends on the type of invasion as well. If it's just like, oh, we've got a few orcs, it's like, okay, the Imperial Guard will handle it. If it's like a full war invasion, it's like, okay, everybody needs to get on this. Or if it's full chaos. If it's like the breaking of Cadia, obviously, again, everybody needs to get on board for that.
Yeah, I mean, Cadia is a special case because everyone on Cadia is trained to fight.
That's a good point.
Civilian is not a word that the Cadian mindset understands very well.
No.
But it's true because Necropolis, there we see an entire city, hive city at war, and a lot of the characters who go on to become ghosts aren't soldiers at the start. They're almost completely self-trained because they have to survive. Siege of Terror. We follow a few characters in that who, they're trained soldiers. More than one character we meet is a conscript who has just been chosen at random to join a defense regiment and just been given basic training. Yet, by the end of the books, they're not only by the end of the books, by the midway point, they're effectively a veteran because of how much crap they've gone through.
Yeah, and obviously with the Siege of Terra, that's how long is that like 10 years?
The Heresy is 10 years, more or less. The
Siege is a while, though.
The Siege is 7 months.
Oh, that's a long time of Siege. Jesus.
It's funny because I've actually been listening to the audiobooks to refresh myself on the Siege, and I'm on book 2 of The End and the Death now, and I'd forgotten that they do actually state clearly that it's been 7 months. But the time of those books is weird because I find it fascinating how they did it narratively, because you start off with Solar War, which before the siege even starts, just to get the enemy fleet to Terra. That's months in of itself, that single book. And then the amount of time that the subsequent ones take place over. So I think The Lost and the Damned is book 2. That takes place over a month or so. And then it's not Saturnine. The First Wall becomes a month, and then weeks, and then days, and then End of the Death is just like this nebulous period where time has stopped because of warp bullshittery. And it's just kind of interesting how the time just compresses to the point where there's some stuff with Valdor in the current book, which is it's literally seconds that his parts of the book are taking place in because of how his mind functions. It's from a narrative perspective, it's been fascinating listening to it and having it all build up that way. So, sorry, digression there.
That's fine. Does Mr. White have any weird god-like things that you'd like to know, or like myths you'd like to put to bed?
No, I think no. For me, it's just maybe GW should put some of these weird, crazy stories, because let's face it, YouTube lore videos are perfect for these kind of weird stories. So you hear a lot about like some of the Katachan stuff, some of the weird stories, or even, like the guards' place in certain battles, like where the Krieg have been involved, for instance. You hear about those things in the lore, and it's just like, if they can, I think Dark Tide's proven anything, if you can put some of that quirky stuff into games like Dark Tide, where you can do those characters justice, I think it will then build the fandom for those particular squads or regiments. But then it's up to 40k to kind of represent it a bit more on the tabletop. So there's nothing weird. I think I'm one of those, if I find something weird, like an interesting story, I tend to just jump on and find out about it,
Yeah.
In
fact,
the weird thing, right at the back at the beginning when I was saying about the Katachan, like I've completely forgotten the name of it now, but there is that weird, I think it's like a red vine thing, but leaf.
The brain leaf.
Yeah, brain leaf. So I've still got on my PC a story that I've written from the perspective of someone that's infected by that. And the whole deal of it is, the more the process goes on, the more that the person is taken over by this entity, but also the more it's actually heading towards a deeper intelligence. And the tragedy is, it never quite gets there. So you never find out what the reality of this, what you would now call like a leaf zombie. The fact is, he's not. It's actually a higher intelligence. Cool. Yeah. But they never quite get there. They never quite, and every time they keep trying, and one day they will get there. And so I tend to build on things like that. But mostly when I find out something weird, I'll just look it up, listen to it, assimilate it, and then of course with my old 50-year plus mind, forget about it instantly.
Let's go.
That means you can listen to it again and be like, "Oh, this is really good." I'll tell you what, I cannot wait to listen to this podcast when it's put out, so that I can then go, "Wow, there's all this stuff that I never knew about." Shall we wrap that up? Shall that be a show then?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it. As you can tell, I love talking about the Imperial Guard.
Really?
I know. I keep it so hidden.
Well, where can people find you on the interwebs, people who work on the Fluffenhammer?
Oh, okay. I'm everywhere as David Kelly. Looked for weird Welsh spelling with an Irish surname. It's pretty unique. I contribute to UKAnime.net from time to time as one of the resident mech heads. And then for the Fluffenhammer, I do the Deeper Dives with Mr. Gruff, which is our Patreon exclusive show, where we dig into an article from White Dwarf or one of Games Workshop's ancillary publications and yammer about it for a while. And then with Mr. White, well, we do the Fluffenbuster show, where we literally talk over a movie.
What's your next one?
Ooh. What were we planning on next, Mr. White? Because
I know we've got a couple in the world. So we're thinking about Mad Max.
Yes.
There's the possibility of a couple of Christmas ones, but we've also got some pre-recorded stuff that we want to put out. And both of us as well are working on interviewing other people using the format as a really, really good, a good way to interview people and for them to talk about themselves and their relationships to films. So there's actually going to be quite a range of stuff coming out next year. The next one out, I'm genuinely not sure. I'm imagining, though, it will probably be the first of a little Tolkien series.
Yes, a little trilogy that depressingly is turning 25 next year.
So, yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh.
But yeah, as for me, it's basically what Dee said, Fluff and Busters. There we go. How about you, Andy?
You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube as Decayed Andy. I do the streaming, games and whatnot. I'm also on the Moonbase 2 podcast, where I talk about Transformers on a Sunday.
Yay.
Other places, Moonbase 2 Transformers podcast.
Lovely.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. This was us filling in for Gruff and George and making sure a show was done while Gruff's PC is dead, dying, and until he gets a new one, which who knows when that'll be, because, it's not cheap to do. So hopefully this has been fun. Thank you both to Adam and to Big D for joining me today.
No worries. Sorry, just wondering, would this be a good time to do a quick Patreon plug in that case?
Oh, sure, yeah. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, sure. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Well, folks, if you've enjoyed this episode, or at least tolerated it, could we direct you towards the Patreon, the Fluffenhammer's own Patreon?
What's the address?
Patreon.com/Fluffenhammer, I think.
Okay.
Like I said, you get the Deeper Dive show. There's some more content, because Mr. Gruff is a bit of a machine, that he just puts stuff out on there. And whatever you contribute, it just helps towards keeping the website and the show going. And no doubt the Gruffster would appreciate it, anything extra, because, well, he needs to get a new computer up and running soon. I know he's got a plan in place, but I think anything would help. So if you've enjoyed this, please, anything would be appreciated.
Seriously, folks, he has literally destroyed a machine through the sheer amount of content he's tried to process through it. And if you listen to any of the last couple of shows with him, you, Andy, and George, that machine has been having a very, very long issue with trying to survive.
If you want a good visual description of what his PC was probably like, have you seen that meme of the milker going back to the cow that's skinny? That's Gruff's computer, because it was so old and begging to die. It didn't want to live anymore.
I was thinking more it was a case of he has to put on some red robes and start burning incense whenever he starts the damn thing up.
Well, he was just trying to find patches for Windows 95 to keep it working,
Oh my God.
I'm assuming. Was he using Windows 95? Maybe. I don't know how old his PC was. It could have been. Who knows? But yes, we'll see you next time. Well, someone will. I don't know what's happening. I don't know when this show will come out. It'll come out at some point. And Fluffenhammer would be back at some point. I don't know when. If not, have a good Christmas, I suppose, because it's
Merry Christmas, folks.
Yeah,
and if this gets delayed, happy 2027 to everybody.
Yeah, 27. There you go. Bye, everybody.
Bye.